Invitation. So I'm standing on behalf of Vishal, who is sick. So we would like to just take you through in 5 minutes about what we do. So we are a 9-year-old company, and and we have been operating in the renewable energy space from the beginning. So initially we started off by selling what are called renewable energy certificates, which are a form of which you can think of as form of carbon credits. So we then moved on to developing software and services that are pretty much used by the grid operators and the renewable energy generators. So to put it in a nutshell, the problem statement is something like this. So Indian grid is changing very rapidly. The grid about 7 to 8 years back was largely driven by brown power, so coal and hydro. And over a period of 7 to 8 years, the mix has changed to become more and more driven by renewables. So since India committed to the Paris Accord, we have also said that we are not going to focus more on the brown power, which simply means that all additional capacity is being driven largely from renewables. So today we have about 65 to 70 gigawatts of energy being produced from renewables, which is up from about 20 gigawatts about 6 years ago. The total Indian grid is about 330 gigawatts. And going forward, the mix is going to become more and more focused on renewables. So we will have about 40-45% of the energy coming from renewables by 2025. Capacity addition in renewables is going to be the major focus for the governments. So managing so much of renewable energy is tough, simply because renewables are not predictable. And the grid is something which needs management in real time. We don't have storage of energy, so to say, in the grid. So what happens is now the grid operators are coming up with various systems and policies to handle so much of renewable energy coming into the grid. So the grid is becoming digital, and so what is happening is, since energy is getting cleaner, balancing energy is becoming more and more real-time, driven based on software and data. So people are now mandating all generators and also all the discoms or the distribution companies to first look at what's going to be consumed. So there is a need for forecasting the demand real time in advance. Say for tomorrow, what's going to be the demand for Bangalore? Karnataka BESCOM has to know it today. And on the basis of that, they will ask generators also to say, okay, tomorrow how much are you going to generate? You have to tell me in advance. And they employ people like us who do the forecasting for them and who tell the grid operators, okay, these generators are going to give so much of energy to the grid tomorrow. So balancing the grid and also forecasting is becoming mandatory across the generation sector now. So we play in that space, and we focus a lot on developing the software. Also, we focus a lot on gathering data from the sites, because energy is a real-time thing, so we need a lot of data from meters, SCADA to be coming to us on a minute-by-minute basis. And we also do system integration. So we get data from the field, and then we process it, and we also forecast energy based on the weather and other data that's available. So simply to put, it's a lot of tech that's working behind to run your grid. And today we are one of the biggest forecasters in India. So what's happening is, as I said, a lot of the data is coming in real time. And there is the static data, there's also the dynamic data, which is based on the weather and based on what's happening in the field. And all this data is processed real time to give grid operators a clear map of what's the energy production going to be tomorrow, what's it going to be 1.5 hours from now, what's it going to be over the next 5 days? So this is a very critical component in grid planning, and this has been mandated now by Government of India that all generators, whoever is producing energy and integrating it with the grid, are supposed to appoint forecasters and also do the balancing of the take some responsibility for the balancing of the grid. So there are penalties if you don't do it, and that's how the market is moving. So we have we are not a very small company. We have been in business now for about 9 years. So we have about 90 employees, sorry, now. And so we have close to 1,500 generators who are paying us for forecasting. And so we are what are called qualified coordinating agencies on behalf of all these generators. We are also developing a software for power grid for managing renewable energy. Government of India has set up 12 new renewable energy management centers across India, where they are developing a dispatch center, a load dispatch management center within the existing framework of grid operations to have software and system and structures to map renewable energy that's being produced specifically in each state, also to balance the grid more effectively, and basically do what is called scheduling, which is accounting of energy. So we are developing the software for almost all the 12 renewable energy management centers, and there we are giving this software to Government of India, and Government of India will be using it to do the grid management. So private clients, again, we have a lot of private clients. So most of the generation in India is owned by small generators who have 4, 5, 6 wind turbines. They're distributed across the country, and similarly solar generation. Of course, solar is not so distributed as wind. So these are mandated now by laws to appoint people like us. So they are also one set of customers for us. So I think we have been doing well, but also just to say in the form that we are a revenue positive company from day one, and we have been running on our own resources. So we have been profitable, and today we have managed to scale up the business to an extent that we have captured a good amount of market share in forecasting and also on the software side for grid operations. Going forward, we would like to expand and move across to other countries. So one of the goals is to see if we can try and bring more of the tech to the Southeast Asian countries, and also to certain countries in Europe where these technologies are also being prevalently used. So that's it, and if anybody has any questions,